The 2025 NHL draft season is officially over, and now we look fully towards the 2026 NHL draft. And I gotta say, folks, this is looking so much better. I don't like to jinx things on this channel, but I am so excited for this 2026 draft class, full with some great superstars at the top, while bringing some great depth as well throughout the rest of the first round. But today I wanted to make an early top 15 NHL draft ranking going to the 2026 class and the prospects that excite me the most. So make sure you guys watch till the end to get the full rundown on this 2026 NHL draft class, the strengths and weaknesses, the best players in each position, and make sure you hit that subscribe button from you as we cover the whole 2026 draft right to the very end. Coming in at the number 1 spot for the 2026 NHL draft class, we have Gavin McKenna. At least coming into his draft year, he looks to be a transformative prospect, and especially when it comes to the production, he was an absolute monster in the WHL this year. He was a monster in the first half, but in the second half, he was undeniable, and you see it finished with 56 games, 41 goals, 88 assists for 129 points, including 38 points in 16 playoff games for Medicine Hat. Just unbelievable. He is a wizard out there connecting so many passes from places you wouldn't expect to see it happen. Plus has a great shot when he wants to use it, but that skill set with the puck on his stick is radiant and will be the biggest thing for him going forward. But I think will ultimately become one of the NHL's best playmakers. Coming in at the second overall position, we go on to, in my opinion, the best defenseman of the class right now in Keaton Verhoeff. 6'4", 212 pounds, and pretty young for his class as well. Committed to play for North Dakota this fall in his draft year, which will be very interesting to see. But you see for Victoria this last year in 63 games, 21 goals, 45 points, just an absolute monster. In Verhoeff's case, the shooting mechanics, how good he is on the rush too, as well as bringing the physical game he provides. He's just a very balanced defenseman overall. The biggest thing that I want to see improved upon is that skating level, is that pure pace in his speed. But besides that, you're getting a pretty complete package here. On to number 3, we go on to our first European of the list in Ivar Stenberg, and I think this is a pretty solid draft for the Swedes coming up, just like 2025, but Stenberg is at an unbelievable level. This kid is just electric, and I cannot wait to see what he's able to do this next year in the SHL. I mean, the fact that he was almost a full-time SHLer this last year is pretty impressive, but you see at the junior 20 level, I mean, 53 points in 27 games and almost a goal per game would be unbelievable for a draft year player, but for somebody coming out of his draft year, not even in his draft year, it's insane production. Was also incredible at the U18 World Juniors as Sweden torched up a lot of that tournament. 8 goals and 13 points in 7 games. I just love how heads of a player Stenberg is. He's always looking to create, always looking to take that next step offensively. He is just so much fun, and I think has the potential to have one of the best SHL draft seasons we've seen in a while, possibly since Leo Carlson. Onto my 4th place position, we go on to one of the best producers coming into his draft year in Ryan Roobroeck out of the Niagara Ice Dogs. As you can see, 6'4", 190 pounds, and is a really good skater, I would say, for his size. The speed is absolutely there, especially in a straight line, and you guys can see how he's turned that Niagara team around. In 64 games this last year, 41 goals, 87 points, and really solid at the U18 Worlds. He is somebody that just has so much talent, kind of like a more pacey Roger McQueen coming into his draft year, just somebody that uses that size well. My biggest complaint might just be I want to see more pure creativity in his game, and there are times defensively where I think he can kind of be a bit of a rover, but the skill set is undeniable, and just how much he's able to will his way to the net, will his way physically is pretty impressive to watch. A big runway here, and certainly with those traits, I'm sure a lot of teams will get pretty excited about this guy. On to the 5th overall spot, and if we were just going off of pure skill alone, Viggo Bjorck would probably be a couple of spots higher, but it's interesting to watch how he'll develop over the next year, because as a 5'9" forward, of course, what we saw this last year in the draft, it's a good thing Gavin McKenna is 6 foot instead of 5'11", or else he might have gone in the second round. But in Bjorck's case, if we're just going off the skill set alone, this guy is an absolute wizard, super smart with the puck, and just with his overall game, I think he actually has quite a bit of effort to show. But you see this last year in the junior 20, just like an Ivar Stenberg, unbelievable production in 42 games, 74 points. Didn't get any taste of the SHL, unfortunately, but got a taste in the Hockey Allsvenskan and a pro league, and got a goal in a game, so that's pretty nice to see. Also, was very solid at the U18s for Sweden, though not on the same level as an Ivar Stenberg. The big big thing that when it comes to Bjorck is that he's not this unbelievable A++ type of skater, and he's also not the biggest when it comes to the size or the muscle yet, but what he's able to still do with how he processes the game, how he puts himself out there, the positions offensively he puts himself on the ice. I just think he has such a pro game, such a pro brain. It's just a matter of if that size and athleticism will take the steps necessary to be a consistent NHLer. On to number 6, we go on to another smaller forward, but somebody I just adore watching, in Preston out of the Spokane Chiefs. Somebody that is a little bit smaller, and I do think getting more muscle will be the biggest thing that could maybe change his NHL future. But in terms of the actual skill set here, this guy is just so much fun. In 54 games, 23 goals, 45 points, 6 goals as well in 5 games of the World Hockey Challenge. This guy is just a goal scorer. This guy loves to get to the net, loves to put himself in positions to succeed. And even besides that, I think he has a good base to his game, super smart and responsible in the way he plays. I just want to see him get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and I think Preston is pretty much automatically a top 10 pick for next year, at least for me. Now, if you're looking for that size and strength, go right ahead and go to Ethan Belchitz, who is going to be one of the most fascinating players to watch next year. Actually, might be a lot more of a Roger McQueen type of comparable than a Ryan Roobroeck, because I think in Belchitz's case, the size is there and the skill is pretty undeniable. It's just kind of putting those things together consistently that has been a bit of a problem. You see for Windsor this last year, not the greatest team in the world for sure, but he was alongside players like Liam Greentree, so I think the production should have been a little bit better in all honesty. But 38 points, 56 games isn't the worst thing in the world. For Belchitz, of course, the potential with his size, how he uses it, I want to see him become even more aggressive with it, be even more creative if he can. Those are, I think, maybe the big things that kind of limit him going forward, but certainly an interesting player to look into next year, and I think pretty easily a top 10 stock player who will have to prove himself with hopefully a bit less injuries than Roger McQueen faced. Now we move on to number 8, and I gotta say, maybe the most underrated name in this class right now, in Tinyan Lawrence out of the USHL. A BU commit, and not the biggest size as a center at 6 foot, 168 pounds, but he's one of the younger prospects in next year's class, and look what he's been able to do in the USHL. I mean, this would be great numbers for a draft year eligible player, but in Lawrence's case, 25 goals, 54 points in 56 USHL games, and his 18 points, 8 goals in 14 games actually got him Clark Cup MVP. So he was somebody that was absolutely dominant in the playoffs for the Lumberjacks, and it's easy to see why. I love the responsibility in his game and just how smart he is in all 3 zones. He's a two-way center, but also I thought throughout the course of the USHL season got way more confident, way more creative, especially against physical pressure. This is somebody that I think just handles the pressure of the game so well, and especially as somebody that's going to be transitioning onto the NCAA, I think that is the perfect place for him. In Lawrence's case, though, I think the sky is the limit here for how much he's improved over the last year and what he could be. I don't see him being like a first line center or anything, but a really amazing second line C. That's what I see right now. On to number 9, we go on to one of the most smart players of this class to me in Ryan Lynn. It will be an interesting story because we saw 0 defensemen that were under 6 feet drafted in the 2025 draft, but I think there's a couple of Canadian defensemen especially that will prove that to be a different case in 2026. Ryan Lynn is absolutely one of them, and even though I don't think he has amazing size for his pedigree, he is somebody that brings such a balanced game defensively, and especially when you see what he's able to do with his playmaking, I think he projects to be a pretty solid top 4 defenseman. In 60 games this last year for Vancouver, 53 points, 48 assists. He's somebody that I just think drives the game so well, rarely makes too many mistakes, and for his size, I think that's pretty important to see. Kind of like a more responsible Cam Reed type of presence from this last year's draft. That's what I kind of see in Ryan Lynn in the projectability. Now moving on to another Canadian defenseman that's under 6 feet, finishing up our top 10, I got Xavier Villanu, and you're going to hear a lot about him and the comparisons to Lane Hutson. And I gotta say, I tried to disagree with this, but I can't really that much. I mean, there's slight differences in terms of the skating, and Villeneuve is slightly bigger heading into his draft year, but they are so similar in terms of the pace of game, the deking ability, the flash, deception on the blue line. They are just eerily similar in that aspect. Plus, in Villeneuve's case, he's somebody that has had unbelievable production in the QMJHL this year, over a point per game as a draft year D that's not even draft eligible. Exceptional. 12 goals, 62 points in 61 games, was also electric as well at the U18s. This is somebody that has sky high potential, and if he just grows like another inch or two, gets a little bit stronger, my goodness, put him on the power play and just watch the results come. On to number 11, and this really speaks to the depth of this class because I think in 2025, this guy might have been top 5. We go on to Chase Reed, who at 6'2", 185 pounds has really been growing over the past couple of years. And in terms of the games and the play, my goodness, I mean, he went from in 2024 getting like 0 points in 10 games in the USHL to this last year for the Sioux Greyhounds, absolutely exploding with the production. In 39 games, 7 goals, 40 points, and was, of course, a solid performer in the playoffs. In Chase Reed's case, he's something that I just find fascinating with the tools he has. He's not a super fast skater, but he's really agile for his size, and it really loves to step into the rush. This is somebody that can connect plays exceptionally. His vision is high end, and especially with the growing physical game, it's not quite amazing yet, but I want to see him improve in that aspect, and I think he will have the capacity to do so. All of these things lead me to believe that Reed could be a top prospect in next year's draft, and especially with how much he's improved over the last year, the sky is really the limit for him. On to number 12, we go on to American forward Mikey Birchild, who is going to be a fascinating one for next year because I would not be surprised if he's a top 15 pick by the end or like a third rounder. I think the variance is pretty massive here because he's 5'9", 170 pounds, and not the greatest skater in the world, at least when it comes to pure top-end speed. There's going to be a lot of question marks around him. But I think he's somebody that with the shot, with the positioning on the ice, with how good he is, even without the puck, I think he's somebody that offensively is just catered to the type of style that the NTDP plays. But you can see some great production at the U17 and U18 level, solid at the World Juniors. So that was one of the US's best players there. And going to Denver, which is a pretty good place to go to project to the NHL and to get some reps against more physical competition. Really, that's the big thing, though. I just want to see that skating improve, because if it improves by just like 10, 15%, then I think the offense is a lot more projectable. On to number 13, we're going to go on to a Swiss forward here coming out of the QMJHL, and Lars Steiner, who has put up some great numbers for the Huskies this last year. 57 games, 23 goals, 60 points, and not too bad in the playoffs either. 8 points in 13 games there. To me, I just love the possession, the play driving, the deception with the puck on his stick. He's just such a crafty and shifty forward, and I think that could take him quite a ways. The big thing that I think might be a little bit of a limiter is how he actually absorbs contact and physical pressure. In the QMJHL, you don't really get a lot of reps against big competition, but in Steiner's case, when he does get that space to work with, he's a ton of fun, but a little bit of a harder projection, which is why he's outside the top 10. Going on to a forward that I don't have much trouble projecting, I go on to check forward here in Adam Novotny, somebody that I absolutely adore coming into this draft class. I wish I could have him higher. I just want to see him really start to dominate in Czechia this next year. But somebody that didn't get a ton of opportunity, but still got 3 points in 41 games, and I didn't think looked out of place, which I think is good to see for somebody not even in their draft year playing against strong pro competition. But was solid at the U18s. I thought was pretty decent at the U20s as well, and again, a pretty limited role, but I just love Novotny and just how he plays the game. He's so smart with his puck handling and how he's able to deceive defensemen, get into the zone, create things, and make things simple at the same time. He has a lot of puck skill, but he's not just pure flash. And I think in Novotny's case, adding a little more consistency to his body, which is not too bad, 6'1", 198 pounds, using that physicality a little bit more and a little bit more aggressively, I think could really turn him into a pretty special middle six player of the future. Now let's end up the top 15 here with one of the most exciting prospects of this class that I just want to see work. Let's go on to Adam Valentini. If you're looking for high-end creativity, Valentini would probably be top 5, top 10 in this class pretty easily. Somebody that for Chicago on a pretty bad Steel team last year, got 39 points in 58 games, but was great at the World Hockey Challenge, and I think is going to be an absolute beast for the Kitchener Rangers this next year. Again, you're looking at high-end processing, high-end pace with the puck on his stick. This guy loves to attack, to create, loves to just generate chances from any place possible, but drive the net at the same time. I think in Valentini's case, there will be some questions over how much more of a pro player he is rather than a junior guy, because I think he is maybe a better junior player at the end of the day. But again, this is somebody that I want to see work because my goodness, the high-end plays he makes are just so much fun. And I gotta say this, with this 2026 draft, this was so hard to put together a top 15 before the draft year, which is not really something I could have said about 2025. The depth is absolutely stellar when it comes to this class. And there was already like 40, 50 names I was putting together for this ranking that excited me and actually had me really anticipating their draft year season. So I am really excited about this 2026 draft. There were guys I didn't even mention, like Daxon Rudolph, JP Hurlbert, Oliver's Merniks, I mean, Carson Carrolls, Casey Mertrin, Thomas Shrenko doing amazing things against pro competition in Slovakia already. There's just a lot to like about this draft, and y'all, I cannot wait to cover it all season long starting next fall. But let me know your thoughts on my top 15 rankings. What you think about this 2026 draft already? What do you think about the class after Gavin McKenna? How would you rank the top 5? Let me know your thoughts down below on my early rankings. Of course, make sure that like button, hit that subscribe button, the notification bell if you guys enjoy the prospect breakdowns and want to see more just like this in the future. And of course, click on this card for all my 2026 draft content because that playlist is going to be filling up throughout the course of the next year. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic hockey day and goodbye.